Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU-TV this week. We've got a good show. We've got kind of a long show. We're going to talk about some sports that we haven't talked about in a while. You already know who I am. I'm Tristan Harlan here. To my right is my good friend, my good compadre, Cooper, the Juice Box Mountain. How you doing, baby?
I'm doing good, Tristan. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm blessed. But we're going to talk about some different things that we haven't usually talked about before on the show. You know, today's opening day for the baseball team. But
it is.
Real quick, we'll dive into that later. But real quick, we want to talk about the bowling team.
Yes.
The bowling team has their midwinter bowling invitational. It's free admission at Hijinks this weekend from the 16th to the 18th. Hope those girls down there can get the job done and bring home the win.
Yeah, you know, the bowling team came up just short last year from being champions as they were running-ups. But we just saw a live strike. If you don't know, this is a live feed from Hijinks right now. And so, you know, they're bowling better than I could ever.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I still need the bumpers if you want me to bowl.
I'm pretty sure when I saw you bowl last, you had to get the dinosaur out and push it down.
The Strikeosaurus Rex is always the way to go. No matter who you're bowling. It doesn't matter if you're going on a first day, a second day, or if you're with the boys. The Strikeosaurus Rex is always the way to go.
Okay.
But speaking of some different sports, I do want to shout out the track and field team. They're going to be at conference this upcoming week, so shout out to those guys and gals. Hopefully they can bring home some hardware, especially Red Wolf Roundtable's very own AJ Allen. Shout out AJ. But, you know, speaking of just sports in general, we had a lot of chaotic things happen in the world of basketball, Coach.
We really did. Maybe there was a little fight going on, but we won't get into that just yet. But, you know, big game from the men, tough loss from the women. We're going to break it down because that's what we do here on Red Wolf Roundtable, the #1 sports show for students here at Arkansas State. Maybe all of Arkansas State athletics.
Hey, man, Wolves up, baby.
Yes.
But, yeah, so speaking of the women first, and we'll go to the men, the women had a tough loss against Southern Miss, and in reality, this is a game they should have won. I mean, I'm not going to be Debbie Downer and say, oh, the women did this, and that wrong. The point is it's a game they should have won. I mean, Izzy, yes, she's hurt. She does have a broken finger. And you're seeing on screen now, they just shot poorly from the three-point and the field. And it's really one of those things where you just got to understand this. They're going to come back to play us here in Jonesboro, to play the Red Wolves in Jonesboro. So I will be more excited to see what the team can do now that they have some understanding of what this team's going to, play like. They had that. This is the same team that gave them problems in the Sun Belt Conference tournament last season that they ended up losing to. But my biggest takeaway from this game is our depth just isn't there. I mean, Lauren was hurt, Izzy's hurt. So, I mean, I need to see a little bit more from those that haven't gotten a lot of minutes this season.
Yeah, and it's kind of around the time of year you do not need an injury because you're getting up close to the conference tournament time, and you hear us say this all the time. The only thing that really matters in Sun Belt Conference basketball is the Sun Belt Conference tournament, because if you win that, automatic bin, you're in the tourney. So injuries right now, I guess get them out while you can, because when it comes conference tournament time, you're going to need to be on your A game, and you got to get hot and you got to get rolling.
Right, and we'll dive more into it next segment. But the biggest thing is this is the first time all season the Arkansas State Red Wolves has had a technical foul, whether it's the fight, whether it's just word of mouth. But like I said, it's just need to see some more depth from those of you that haven't played as much. But we are going to take a step away. When we come back, we're going to go further more into depth from the USM game. We're going to talk about the rest of the team here on Red Wolf Roundtable. Stick around.
I think one of the things I learned at Arkansas State was life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to it, and that's just something that I live by.
A-State is home, and they're going to treat you like you're a part of the family.
When you say experience counts, it's experience that counts for a lifetime.
Boxes, I cannot fit in the boxes. Stop it, quit Quitting was never an option. Exhausted. This passion is never exhausted. And you cannot stop it. Nah, you cannot stop it. Quitting was never an option. And you cannot stop it. Nah, you cannot stop it.
Welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU-TV. Now we're going to fully deep dive into the USM loss that the Arkansas State Red Wolves suffered. But real quick, I do want to go ahead and say this. I know we're on the road to WrestleMania, but I didn't know it was going to roll right through Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
Yeah, you know, it was last night, and you just send a text. You go, did you see this? And, you know, I go to Twitter, look up Arkansas State USM. And, boy, did we get WWE pretty early. There was a fight at the women's game.
Yeah, so,
Five people ejected, by the way.
5 people ejected. Even some of the crowd got taken out of the game. But what happened was it was just a simple rebound from Emma. And she just, kind of went up with it and then kind of just shoved them off, as you do when you're getting wrapped up.
Shoved them off.
Yeah, shoved off. And then you got 5 different people coming at you, really trying to, I don't know what they were trying to do. I don't know if they were trying to send a message. I don't know if they were just trying to be a little rowdy. But my biggest thing is kudos to the Arkansas State team that didn't sit there and join in and end up getting more ejections, because you never know, that could come back for another game or 2, depending on how the conference wants to do this. But you're seeing the highlights on screen now, and like I said, this team, when it matters most, the depth just isn't there. I mean, Izzy's hurt, Lauren's hurt. You're really starting to see the wear and tear of a long basketball season right now, ladies and gentlemen. And my biggest thing is last season, for those of you that remember, Izzy got hurt last season too. We saw a little bit more injuries as well, but they were able to come together right when it mattered most and ride the Lightning into the conference tournament. But have no fear if you're starting to kind of have a little doubt about this team, because we still got a lot of basketball left from this team. They're going to play Louisiana on the road. Then they're going to come back to finish out the season. We actually may be reaching out to Coach Rogers just to talk a little bit more about the season ahead of conference tournament. But Cooper, what's your takeaway from the USM game?
It was a game that we should have won and we lost. I mean, it all came down to the final 2 quarters of the game. We scored 9 points in the third quarter, and then in the fourth quarter, we scored a whopping 2 points. We shot 10% from the field in the fourth quarter. We shot 0% from 3 and missed 2 free throws in the fourth. The fourth quarter was what lost us that game. We were first 2 quarters, we're rolling, we're going, and then it was like third quarter came, couldn't hit shots. Fourth quarter came, they went ice cold, and that's when the lack of depth comes into play, as you were talking about, because when it comes to conference tournament time, you need to have the depth, because you'll be playing if you're winning, you'll be playing a game, the next day another game, the next day another game. You're going to need people to come off the bench to give your starters a rest when, it's their third game in 3 days. They're exhausted. They're going to be tired. You're going to need the people off the bench to come in and give you quality minutes, so Izzy doesn't have to be playing 48 minutes every game.
Right, and you make that statement, but I kind of just want to point out some key things I was looking at from the stat book while the highlights were going. Anna Griffin, who we've talked about on the show as being maybe that sharpshooter that the team needs off the bench, went 0 for 7 from three-point land. Now, also, Cheyenne, who we've talked about on the show before, we talked about her with Coach Rogers. When Coach Rogers was on the show, played 11 minutes and only went to the line twice, and that was all of her points.
Didn't attempt a shot.
Yeah, didn't even attempt a shot. But, and like we've said all season long, it's kind of a broken record up to this point. Last week, we talked about the second quarter woes. Now it seems like they've switched from one quarter to the next, and now they have the fourth quarter woes. But I wouldn't say it's cause for concern, give up on the team yet. Coop, you may have a different opinion on this, but I still think this team has what it takes to make a deep run. I don't think they're going to win the conference tournament. I want them to, but I just don't think they have the depth yet.
Yeah, I'm not giving up on this team because who's their head coach?
Coach Rogers.
Coach Des Rogers. I mean,
The GOAT.
Coach Rogers, last year when the team seemed to be just doing awful, couldn't win a game, she called her team out. She lit a spark in them. And there's no doubt in my mind Coach Rogers isn't going to do that to them if they start going on a little cold streak. And, you know, all I got to say is, Coach Rogers and we trust. It's just,
yeah, man.
When in doubt, do not count out Coach Des Rogers and the A-State Red Wolves.
Right, and, you know, just speaking of, you know, two players that really have kind of been the entire team's offense this season is Lauren and Izzy Higginbottom. But, you know, as we said, Lauren suffered a sprained ankle. Izzy has a broken finger. Now, Izzy's not going to be entirely held out, but you got to think when you're having two fingers taped up together, that may affect her shooting. I'm not saying that it does. I've never had that sort of scenario happen to me, never broken a bone in my body, knock on wood. But my biggest takeaway from this is, in the grand scheme of things, how long does this injury linger on with the team? Is it one of those things where, yes, you're hurt, yes, you got a little cuts and bruises, but it's, you know, you bounce right back and you're fine? Or is it one of those lingering deals like we've seen with like a Corey Rucker who gets hurt once and they kind of have that in the back of their mind the rest of the season and it kind of stops them from performing at 100%?
Yeah, the thing with a broken finger is you never really know the severity of it. Like, it could be a week, it could be 3 weeks, but you can already tell it's affecting Izzy because she had 8 turnovers in that game. Now she went 5 for 6 from the free throw line, but 8 turnovers. So maybe she's not getting that good as a grip on the ball and being able to place the pass where she wants to. So, you know, time will tell for Izzy, and she's a player we need healthy, but if she can't be fully healthy, we need Anna Griffin to show up. We need Lauren to show up. We need Cheyenne to show up. I mean, Malin Wilkerson, she can show up. We've seen games where she gets hot from three-point land. We're going to need that if Izzy doesn't get back to 100%.
Right, so show up and show out is what
Show out.
Is what I'm getting at. But we're going to take it away to another break. When we come back, we'll talk about the up-and-coming, rising men's basketball team here at Arkansas State. Stick around, guys.
I think one of the things I learned at Arkansas State was life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to it, and that's just something that I live by.
A-State is home, and they're going to treat you like you're a part of the family.
When you say experience counts, it's experience that counts for a lifetime.
Boxes, I cannot fit in the boxes. Stop it, quitting was never an option. Exhausted, this passion is never exhausted. And you cannot stop it, nah, you cannot stop it. Quitting was never an option. And you cannot stop it, nah, you cannot stop it.
Welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU-TV. Now it's time to talk about the men's basketball team and what a streak they seem to slowly be on.
You know, it was a big-time win at Troy. You know, we were talking last week, they cannot win on the road. It seems like they go on the road and they just play awful. But after a big win against the Ohio Bobcats past Saturday, went into Troy and got a big-time dub, winning 82-71.
Yeah, Coop, this team really seems like they've kind of improved, and they're slowly improving as the days go on. And it almost seems like they kind of heard us talking on the show a little bit, talking about how they are not able to win on the road. But just looking at this team from the highlights, I mean, they're really playing good physical team basketball. I mean, DeAndre's shots were falling, Darian's shots were falling. Even Stone Cold Isaiah Nelson had his shots fall. Shout out to back last time they were in First National Bank Arena, and he hit a three-pointer. That was crazy. But this team really kind of, going back, kind of piggybacking off the women, they kind of have slowly are starting to find that stride that they really need ahead of conference tournament because this team has a lot of talent. Don't get me wrong. I mean, this starting five with the minus of one player that should still be here is one player away from being the most talented team in the Sun Belt. And this team has what it takes still to win the Sun Belt Conference. They're just new. They have a new coach. They have a new system that they're still trying to adapt to. But when you're looking at this team from a bigger picture, so to speak, and you're really thinking, okay, what is this team lacking on and what is this team really doing well on? Well, I'll tell you what they're lacking on. And this kind of goes to Isaiah Nelson. Isaiah Nelson, with how tall and how big he is, he really isn't a post presence that really can get that post hook, can get that post fade. All he does is rebound and he throws it home in a slam dunk. Now, I'm not saying that's bad, but when you have a guy that's as tall as Isaiah is and you have him working the offense and the defense like he can when he gets hot, you want to see more of that post game inside versus outside. Now, DeAndre Dominguez, I feel like he's kind of one of those key players that really has shined this year for the men's team. He's able to hit the three ball, he's able to get some inside looks, and he's really able to facilitate this offense to a point where if he gets hot, the rest of the team's following him.
Yeah, and the key player for me for the win against Troy is Taryn Todd. Ever since he's came back from, I don't know if it was injury. He wasn't playing for a little bit. He came back. He came off the bench, scoring 19 points, 3 for 5 from the three-point land. He is a big-time player that he needs to be able to come off the bench and drop 20 points every game. I mean, if we want to have road wins, we're going to need that player off the bench. And with Caleb Fields, he needs to start hitting his free throws. He went 0 for 3 from free throws. And we've seen it game after game. Caleb Fields, he can get inside, but he can't finish from the free throw line.
Right, and I do kind of want to talk about DeAndre a little bit more. He has had some injury concerns as well, and hopefully he can get fully healthy soon. But my biggest thing against Taryn Todd is, and it's not that he's a bad player by any means, I just feel like he holds the ball too long. I feel like once he gets it, I don't see him passing it more than I would like to. Now, I'm not saying he doesn't pass it. I just don't think he passes enough. Now, when you're looking at some other players on this team, one name that comes to mind really is Freddie Hicks. Freddie Hicks, he was kind of an afterthought there for a while. He got hurt. He really didn't want to play. He wanted to put the team in the best position possible, so if he thought if he didn't play while injured, then it would have made the team more successful. But now, coming against the Troy game, he played 28 minutes, he shot 50% from the field, and he had 16 points. That's fantastic. Coming off the injury, coming off kind of the slow, rocky start Freddie had in his first year here at A-State, it's very rare that you see a player of his talent get hurt and still have the production minutes that he has had. Now, another name that's kind of took me surprise is Julian Lewell. Julian Lewell, last year, he couldn't hit a shot to save his life.
No.
To quote Stephen A. Smith, he was a bona fide scrub. Now, this year, he's able to hit the three-point shot out of nowhere. I don't know if that was some summer workouts. I
guess so.
I don't know
It
what
was
that
bad.
was, but I'm glad Julian's got his shot now down pat to where he is able to come off the bench, provide pivotal minutes, and get pivotal scoring off the offense.
And someone who else I want to see find their stride back is the Mayor Bono, Avery Felts, because at the beginning of the year, we saw Avery. He was in the starting lineup. He was a reliable three-point shooter. And it feels like every year as we go on, Avery gets in this stretch where he can't find his three-point shot. He's not able to knock them down consistently like he does. So if Avery can just find his three-point shot, this team, everybody else in the Sun Belt Conference is going to be in the world of hurt. And you're seeing stats. Shot almost 50% from the field, almost 50% from the three-point land, but we shot 47% from the free throw line. Shooting 47% from the free throw line on the road, you don't find too many games where you're winning, but we won by 11.
Right, and for a team that a lot of people has quoted this team as living and dying by the three, they've really been able to hit their three-point shots as of late. I know the JMU game was kind of a stretch for Darian Ford because he couldn't find his stride there, but now it seems like the team is really being able to add some more production points. But speaking of the JMU game, the next time the men are at home, they will be on ESPNU. It was announced that the Troy game here at home next Thursday, I do believe.
Yes, the 22nd.
It will be on ESPNU. Now, for the students watching, that game has been deemed as a blackout. So if you come, make sure you're wearing your Black A-State gear to really give it a midnight feel and really get First National Bank Arena rocking on a linear ESPN show.
Oh, I'm excited. The only problem I have with that,
you gonna be working.
No, I'm gonna be excited to work. It's 8 o'clock though. I'm gonna be tired by halftime. I'll be ready for bed.
Well, you better get you a drink. So we're gonna take it a break. When we come back, it's opening day. We're talking about some A-State baseball right here on the Red Wolf Roundtable.
I think one of the things I learned at Arkansas State was life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to it, and that's just something that I live by.
A-State is home, and they're going to treat you like you're a part of the family.
When you say experience counts, it's experience that counts for a lifetime.
Boxes, I cannot fit in the boxes. Stop it, quitting was never an option. Exhausted, this passion is never exhausted. And you cannot stop it, nah, you cannot stop it. Quitting was never an option. And you cannot stop it, nah, you cannot stop it.
Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks, Tristan, because the A-State baseball team is back. You know what? Opening day is today for A-State baseball, and you know what? It's raining, it's cold, but nothing like February baseball.
February baseball, there's only one place I want to be, and that's in Tomlinson Stadium for the A-State baseball team, because they got a three-game homestand to open up the season against the Omaha Mavericks.
And we're not talking about Peyton Manning.
Yeah, exactly, and we're not talking about the NCAA National Championship Series neither. But this team is coming off a very, very approving year, I would say.
Yeah, I mean,
comparing to 2 seasons ago, it's improving.
Yeah, okay, so opening day tonight against Omaha, 6 p.m. And, you know, there's a lot of questions up in the air. You know, we're coming on 16 seasons for Mr. Tommy Raffo.
The GOAT.
I
was trying to give it to. Hey!
Wow!
Shout out, Mr. Sullivan, for that nice transition.
But 16 seasons, you know, we're coming off of a 20-31 record last year. It's just we got to start the year off hot. You know, we normally win the first 3 games of the year, and then we go play a team like Ole Miss and just get slaughtered. I mean, to be nice about it.
Well, speaking of Ole Miss, the biggest question for this team this season is how do you replace standout All-American, freshman All-American, that is, for the Sun Belt Conference, Kyler Carmack. Kyler Carmack last season for the Red Wolves, he had an ERA of 3.23, fantastic ERA if you ask me, and he had a 5-3 record. Now, sadly, Kyler Carmack said, "Peace out, Girl Scout," and went on to Oxford to play for the Ole Miss Rebels.
Yeah.
Hopefully he doesn't throw a perfect game against us when he comes back to play here at the time. But You're speaking of pitchers there for the Arkansas State Red Wolves, and you're wondering, okay, if Kyler Carmack's gone, who's the first 3 starters of the season?
Yes.
And I think we got a graphic to show it. There we go. We got Jelly Van Der Lilly. We have Arlen Butts, the legend, and we have Dylan Hine.
Yes, Jelly, we were told he played for
He was on the scout team for the Netherlands All-World team. I think that's what Austin said.
Yes. So I'm very excited to see him pitch tonight if we do have the game, if the rain holds off and, they're able to get the field dry and not all muddy and wet. So if we do have a game, I'm going to be very excited to see, Jelly go in there and pitch just to see, because last year the big problem was pitching. Our starters, they were decent, they could hold us off, but it was getting into the bullpen, and then that's when we started having trouble. But we did hire a new pitching coach, so I'm excited to see the new changes coming to the pitching staff.
Old Peyton Trawick from JUCO baseball.
Yes.
I've heard good things from those that I know on the baseball team. But speaking of those that we have on the team that's good, we also have 2 players on the Royal Scout team too. So that'll be great to see them playing in the scarlet and black.
If we're talking about the Royals,
If we're talking about the Royals,
not
gosh.
the best baseball team.
Hopefully
but you
Easton
know
doesn't
what?
come out here.
You know what? They're trying their best.
Well, at least it's not the Cardinals, buddy.
Yes,
I know you're a big Cardinals
Amen.
fan.
Don't even.
But just looking at this team, what are some early expectations for this squad that you have?
Well, I would like to see Daedric Kell. He needs to be more consistent. He'll hit a home run every once in a while, but I need to see him more consistent fielding wise, especially at the third base position. It's called the hot corner for a reason. You got to be on your toes. You got to have good reaction time. And I would just like to see his batting average go up and more home runs, if I'm being honest, because we're looking at from last year, he only had 4 home runs, and I thought it was a lot more.
Right.
But if we can see Daedric Kell, he has experience, he's a veteran here. If he can get going, then you have that other duo of Brandon Hager who had 15 home runs last year.
Right, and just go ahead and looking at the preview of this matchup for the Omaha game that is today, it's really going to be one of those things where, yes, Omaha may not be the biggest school in the world, but I have this little birdie in the back of my head that's telling me, like, hey, if the Arkansas State Red Wolves don't come to play, Omaha's going to punch them right in the mouth, and they're going to upset them at the time.
Yeah, they had similar records from last year, 21-28 for Omaha. And then ERA, that's what I'm saying, a 7.35 ERA. You're telling me we gave up pretty much 7 runs a game. Can't be having that. But batting, kind of in the middle, only 41 home runs. But, it all comes down to if we can get pitching under control. And I feel like Arlen Butts is going to take a big step this year.
Right. Arlen Butts definitely will be that pitcher to watch. Hopefully we do see somebody like Braden Hager become more consistent because it's home run or strikeout from him when he steps up to the plate. But really, the biggest sort of thing that stands out to my eyes is Alan Greer. Alan Greer in right field, he was able to rob a couple home runs at the time. He was able to hit a couple home runs when it mattered. But I'm just excited to see kind of the progression that he's had from last season to this season to see if he's become more dynamic. And I'm not saying he's not dynamic by any means, but just some of these names on this team that you really are kind of in the back of your head if you're a Red Wolves fan saying, okay, this guy should be better than these people because, of where he's come from, kind of like a cross jumper coming from Tennessee. Kind of like to see more production from him. The base running as well is another area of concern, but we can get into that another day. But just going back about, what I was saying earlier, this team has what it takes to be maybe not the best team in the Sun Belt, maybe not even the second or third best, but they have hope. Now, real quick, I do want to pause from baseball.
Okay.
And I do want to give a shout out to Easton John. Now, Easton John, this is kind of off the cusp here, and it's kind of random, but I do want to give a shout out to him. Easton John, all season long for football season, he was saying the Chiefs were going to go back to the Super Bowl and win. They were going to do it. I'm going to give it to him. You can be mad all you want, but I'm going to give it to him. He does a lot for us. I do want to just shout out him.
Give him his flowers for what?
Yeah. Well, I say that to say this. There was a little incident that happened at Kansas City while he was there.
Yes.
I had some family there as well, so we do just want to extend our prayers for Kansas City in this time of need. Some bad things happen.
Yes.
We're not going to get into it in the world, but we're just going to say we are praying for Kansas City. But with that being said, that's all we got for Red Wolf Roundtable this week. When we come back, we're going to talk more basketball and hopefully an Omaha versus Red Bulls victory for the Red Bulls. See you guys next week.